Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is clarity of vision and how challenges to our vision can actually help to strengthen and reinforce our convictions. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and your organs, and bringing vital life energy throughout your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, electrifying, energizing, illuminating all your cells and your molecules and your electrons, energizing and electrifying. And as you exhale any remaining stress, tension, negativity, fatigue. And now let's gently press our palms together. Really softly rub your fingers against your palms. Feel how delicious that sensation is and bring yourselves present right here, right now. Welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. Good morning, Andrea. So great to have you guys here with us and everybody else who's joining us today. We're going to talk about clarity of vision. And before we do that, though, yesterday was kind of a bird care and maintenance focus. And I want to thank you guys because you encouraged me to go and pull one of Maggie's toys from her cage. And she chomped down on this yesterday. She really enjoyed it. So it's through your inspiration that Maggie hopefully is going to be less destructive in the house. She makes a tremendous mess with this thing, but she seemed to enjoy chewing on it. So I want to thank you for that. And today we're talking about clarity of vision. So for those of you who've been hanging around a bunch, you know that I have this vision for an eco park. And really what it is something on a very grand scale, kind of like the World's Fair, but for sustainability and all kinds of sustainable technologies and practices and all of that. Good morning, Dennis. Welcome. So good to have you here. So yesterday I had a meeting with someone who is a visionary, who has a vision for a different project that we thought maybe could coordinate with the project that I and my partners in crime are envisioning. And this person is a tremendously successful, brilliant guy who's got all kinds of connections and has been really researching this project that he's doing for quite some time, and he's just a great resource, and he's a great resource of information for what we need for our project as well. So what was interesting is in the context of our conversation, we were really looking at the possibility of combining our efforts. Good morning, Robert. It's been a long time. So good to have you back. Welcome. So we were looking at how to coordinate our efforts. And one of the things that is foundational for me about the Eco Park is that it's about reshaping our potential future. It's about imbuing a new paradigm. Good morning, Isabel. So good to have you here. So we're talking about clarity of vision. And so for me, this eco park is not just a theme park. It's not just a museum. It's not just an educational center. It's not just a retreat center and global resource center. It's all of these things. And it also is an embodiment, in my vision, it's an embodiment of new possibility, for new ways of being for humanity, that is emphasizing values of cooperation and collaboration, in contrast to the rising tribalism that we see globally. Good morning, Bernadette. So good to have you here. We're talking about clarity of vision. And so it was very, very interesting. And also harmony, harmony with the planet, with all of being, with other humans, with all the critters on the planet, with nature herself. It's about creating a new paradigm, truly. And it was so interesting to have this, what looked like a wonderful carrot dangled right before us to say, hey, here's the opportunity to go forward with this and make it happen, and on a grand scale. And the thing is that we don't lead with it being an eco park. We lead with it being this theme park, this other thing that actually in so many ways is perpetuating our current priorities and values. And when you think of a theme park, if we think of Disney, you can't think of Disney without thinking about all the merchandise, right? All the souvenirs, and the whole thing is about how much money are you going to be able to make with this. And it's also about, hopefully it's about personal empowerment and beyond, but personal empowerment, even, of which I am a huge advocate for personal empowerment. And I envision this park, or this, it's really more of a city or a compound. I envision this as something that not only supports personal empowerment, but in the context of a greater whole, rather than in a, good girl, Maggie. Maggie just bowed. She, I told you a couple of days ago, I was trying to teach her to bow, and she's doing it unsolicited. So I'm trying to reward her for it when she does it, so that when I ask her to do it, she'll do it. But anyway, those of you that are the bird geniuses here, maybe can you give me some coaching around that? But so what was really, really interesting to me is here's somebody that it has so much of the foundational knowledge that is essential to the project that I want to do, and has a lot of resources, and there is some commonality of vision, but it's really sort of almost incidental. And I left that phone call, rather than being inspired and excited and buoyed, raised up from that whole conversation. I just felt like I wanted to cry. I just felt so sad. And I was looking at, why is it that I felt so sad? And I think part of it was a disappointment. I hadn't realized that I had this hope for what we might be able to put together. But I think the other part of the sadness was kind of a despair at how unaware we are. How, like this person was saying, we don't need to wake up to sustainability. That's the conversation now. It's just that people don't know how to take action. But the thing is that we do need to wake up to what the mechanisms are that have held our lack of ability to take action in place. Like what are the values? What are the assumptions of our culture that we don't even examine? And they were very much at play in this other model that this person has been working toward. So Bernadette says, I think the pandemic changed people's perceptions of what matters in life. I agree with you, Bernadette. I hope that that's really true. Bernadette says, my worry is people will fall back into old ways and not embrace the pleasures in heart and soul matters. So, I get that as a concern for sure, Bernadette. And the thing is that, once you see something, you can't unsee it. And so people may slide back. You can see the bricks waving here. These are not real bricks. This is a backdrop. So Maggie's flying around and the whole world's shaking here, right? The bricks are even moving. Anyway, I think you can't unsee something once you've seen it. And once you recognize, we may try to forget because it makes life more challenging to know what we know. But, I was thinking through a traditional theme park. Robert says the Maggie effect. Oh, I love that. The Maggie effect with her shaking the world as she flies around. Yeah, that's awesome. Brilliant. So, yeah, I'm just looking at this thing. The upshot of that whole conversation yesterday is, first of all, I don't think that this person got my vision. That was one thing. But the other thing is that it helped me to come forward and say, wait a second, what are the values that you are promoting in this environment? What is the vision? Because part of the vision from this other person was to create personal empowerment. I'm all for that. And personal empowerment gets to be educated, like our behaviors in terms of like plastic water bottles, buying bottled water, like this is something that people do because they think it's healthy. And it's certainly convenient and we believe that we should be drinking a whole lot more water. So the plastic water bottles, that's, it's convenient and it's healthy, but the thing is, it's not healthy because of the chemicals that leach into the water from the bottles. It's not healthy to the ecosystems because the water companies are pretty much stealing the water from local municipalities or local aquifers. And besides that, the plastic stays here for hundreds of years and we have no way to remove it. And it in itself is toxifying our environment. And when we drink the plastics and the water, we also get microplastics in our system, and it goes on and on. So anyway, these things we do because we're not aware, or because we don't have a convenient alternative, or we haven't figured out how to mitigate the behavior, or we haven't prioritized it. We haven't made it important enough to do something about individually because we don't have the pain point around it. And so, for instance, in a theme park, of course, you're going to have all these fast foods in disposable containers, right? But not in the eco park. At least, that whatever kinds of containers they're going to be there are either going to be repurposed for, like sanitized and reused, or they're going to be composted or something like that. So, there are considerations and concerns when there's a primary commitment to sustainability, for example, than there is to having a theme park that wants to be as sustainable as possible. Two entirely different visions, right? So good morning, Lisa. So good to have you here with us. I took your advice, folks, from yesterday, and I found her one of her chew toys from her cage, and I brought it out and she shredded it. And so I have sawdust all over my floor, and she doesn't seem to be as interested in it today so far, but she is chomping on it a bit. So I appreciate your encouragement to find her other things to chew on besides my treasured possessions. Anyway, so what came out of this is noticing the contrast, like coming out of that meeting, feeling terrible, really feeling tremendously sad and disheartened, and then looking at, well, what's the truth of this for me? And as a result of the contrast, as a result of really listening to what this other person's vision was, and not even down to the things like food service and merchandise and things like that, but just what their theme park was promoting, the unconscious things that we assume and take for granted in our culture. Those things, the unquestioned assumptions, were very much at odds with the core of my vision. And despite the incredible opportunity, what I came to was, no, I'm not okay with co-opting the vision and the values, that this is a violation of the vision and the values. And I think the sadness was that there was part of me that wanted to be able to, engage with this, and then the greater part of me is like, no, this whole eco park, it's not there to be just a theme park. It's there to be a transformational beacon for the future. That's really what it's meant to be. And I'm not going to sell it out. I can't, like the temptation to sell out. And I think so many of us encounter, when we have a vision or a dream, that we encounter opportunities to sell out, to give up on the dream, to or to mitigate the dream, to modify the dream in such ways that it's actually a core violation. We get that invitation all the time, and maybe it's a test, maybe it's a test of our commitment and our clarity. But I can tell you that as a result of that contrast, I gained so much greater clarity and conviction. And that's so amazing. Now I get to go back to this person and say, hey, first of all, I don't think you got our vision. So I'd love to have the opportunity to clarify that. Second of all, there's no reconciliation between your vision and our vision. It's not without completely co-opting what our vision is. So because we're looking at another end of the spectrum. One of the things that this person said is, there's no precedent for what you're doing. And I'm like, okay, he's like, there's no proof of market. There's no way that you're going to sell investors on this. And it was really interesting. I said, well, that's what they told Disney, right? And he didn't get that. He said, well, Disney was coming from an established media presence, but the thing is that Disney's idea was unique, and Disney was told that he was crazy, that nobody was going to go to this thing. And people weren't, Maggie is trying to get in to eat my plant. And you know what? That little buggerhead, she found a way in. So well, almost, not quite. She's still working on it, but she's so smart and persistent. Oh my gosh. Anyway, Rosalind says the intent comes first. And then even after implementing the intent, not every situation can accommodate the intent. 1,000 times true. I agree with you 1,000,000%. I think the mitigation or workaround is the engagement to explore the I'm not sure what that word is meant to be. But people often walk away from that conversation feeling like their personal position was attacked. So thank you for that. I think in this case, I didn't feel like our personal position was attacked. I think that this other person has a very, very different life perspective and is very much deeply entrenched in the current paradigm of making money, profit. And I'm not against making money, and I know that there's importance to making profit, but has a lot of conventional ideas around how all that works, and that money is the most important thing. And I hold out that there are investors that are looking to do good, and maybe looking to do good without absolutely maximizing the amount of profit. That profit isn't necessarily the one and only primary driver. There may be other drivers. So I'm holding out that there are people that have money that really want to leave a legacy, that really want to make a difference in the world, and not create another well, that want to make a difference. So Bernadette says it's also not self-serving. Yes, indeed. I mean, this is not about me. It's a vision that is so much bigger than me. It's not, it's a vision for the world. And it's not just a theme park, in fact, at all. The idea is to make it be a place that appeals to people enough to draw them in, but to draw them into this new possibility so that they walk away feeling inspired and renewed, and that they have solutions and they have new behaviors without even realizing that they adopted those new behaviors. They have new behaviors. They have new exposures. They have new sensibilities because they've been immersed in a richer understanding of the possibility that is available to all of us. Oh, Rosalind says, okay, the word was option. Sorry about that. Okay, so to reiterate the sentence with the word that I didn't understand, I think the mitigation or workaround is the engagement to explore the options, but people often walk away from that conversation feeling like their personal position was attacked. Well, so, back to that point, actually, if I can't address other people's opinions, then my idea isn't solid enough. If I can't stand up to, or if the idea doesn't stand up to other people's opinions and perspectives, then it doesn't have the strength it needs to actually become manifest. So Isabel says, awesome. Yeah, we get stronger as we get exposed to contrast, for sure. So it gave me the opportunity to create greater clarity. So not to dig in, but to kind of expand the depth of my conviction, to expand my conscious awareness of the values that were driving this thing. So cool. So Lisa says, have I seen the Diane von Furstenberg's park in New York City? No, I had no idea. So Lisa's saying she and another gentleman gave hundreds of millions. It's on the waterfront by Fisherman's Pier. How awesome is that, right? Probably not making any money from it, right? I don't, maybe a tax write-off, but how awesome is that? People, I believe that people want to do good, and I'm not, I think I want to be looking at the financing of this thing from a different angle. First of all, there's so many thoughts going on in my head all at once. first of all, there's the idea that just came in my head of question everything, like question the foundational assumptions. And so we think about, for a project like this, we think about investors. And I'm thinking now, I had a twist, instead of thinking of investors, thinking about funders. Funders, people who, like Diane von Furstenberg, created this park in New York City. So I think that that's a whole switch of paradigm, and we get to be reinventing our future by looking at what our fundamental assumptions are. It's kind of like being a fish in water and trying to see the water, not necessarily so easy because those assumptions are foundational. But when we ask what if, I've been looking at what is what would make things, what would fix, or what would be a new foundation from which to grow a new future? Like, what are some of the foundational assumptions that are at the root of so many of the mechanisms in the world that are dysfunctional? And one of them is othering. One of them is that, like the tribalism that we have been cultivating. And what we need to do is to be really creating connection between ourselves and other people and other species and the planet and the whole experience of the universe. So when we make games, we need to make games that breed cooperation, not that breed otherness. And that's something about this environment, is how to make it be an environment that breeds collaboration, connection, cooperation, right? So, and Bernadette says, the soul was not granted a money currency at birth. Greed has been given, which goes against the soul's purpose. I love it. Thank you for that, Bernadette. And Isabel says, yes. And Bernadette says, funders give from the soul, not from greed. Totally. So that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for investors. We're looking for funders and visionaries. Lisa says, look it up. It's like an island over the water. I believe it's self-sustaining. They've pledged another 100 million to keep it up. Lisa, I will. That's awesome. It's called Little Island. Thank you for that. I will check that out. And I encourage all of us to deepen our vision, deepen your clarity around your vision. And if you're still in the process of getting an idea, getting that vision, allow yourself to feel into it, because the depth of the emotion that I felt coming out of that meeting was so profound that it forced me, or it invited me. It didn't force me. But it strongly encouraged me to look at what was going on that inspired such a profound emotional response. So our bodies, as a friend of mine said, our body knows. So when you get some kind of response like that, look into it. And so I didn't dive deeper into feeling terrible. I was looking at, well, what's going on around that? And it turned out to be a breakthrough. So breakdown precedes breakthrough. And with that, Isabel says, I have a vision like that, much bigger than me. And Isabel, that's such a teaser. I have a client I have to run, and I love you all. And maybe we can talk about vision next week and share our visions. I would love that. And so lots and lots of love to you. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. Please check out all the other awesome programming from Enlightened World Network, and have a weekend of vision and clarity and joy. So much love to you guys. Until next time.